You trust your car to keep you safe. But what if one sudden move, one emergency swerve, could prove it's not? Welcome to the Moose Test, the brutal real-world maneuver that separates the safe from the scary. Originally designed in Sweden to simulate swerving around a moose, this test has exposed some of the most shocking failures in automotive safety. We're talking brand new SUVs, luxury sedans, and even top-selling family cars, spinning out of control, sliding off course, or nearly tipping over. And no, this isn't just about speed. It's about stability, suspension, and whether your car can react when it truly matters. In this video, we're diving into 9 cars that flunked the Moose Test. Some so badly, you'll question how they ever made it to market. From a Mercedes that embarrassed itself, to a pickup that rolled like a toy, to a Tesla that failed when you'd least expect it. These aren't just fails, they're warnings. And if you own or plan to buy any of these models, you need to see what happens when they're pushed to the limit. Let's start with a car that proves premium doesn't always mean safe. 9. Mercedes-Benz CLA. You expect precision from a Mercedes. German engineering, top-tier safety. But in the Moose Test, the CLA failed hard. At just 66 kilometers per hour, the car lost control. The rear swung out. Stability control kicked in too late. The result? Near spin-out. And this isn't a budget car, it's a luxury sedan, a car people trust with their lives. But in a simple swerve, a child on the road, a car pulling out, it couldn't stay planted. Worse, it happened every time. Attempt after attempt, the CLA snapped into oversteer, the suspension couldn't recover, and the car became unstable under pressure. How did Mercedes respond? They didn't. No fix, no update, no public statement. Just silence, and hopes that drivers never find out. So here's the brutal truth. If a car like the CLA with all its tech and branding can't handle an emergency maneuver, what exactly are you paying for? It's sleek, it's stylish. But when it matters most, it flunks. Up next, the world's most trusted pickup, until it tips over like a toy. 8. Toyota Hilux. The Hilux is legendary, rugged, reliable, indestructible. But in the Moose Test, it almost rolled. At moderate speed during a simple swerve, the rear wheel lifted clean off the ground. Another kilometer per hour faster and it could have tipped over. Why? Tall ride height, soft suspension, slow reacting stability control. A deadly combo during emergency maneuvers. And this isn't a freak case. Testers repeated it. Same result every time. This is exactly the kind of move you'd make to avoid a child, an animal, a car stopping short. But when the Hilux reacts, it leans, wobbles, and teeters, with no real correction from the safety systems. Toyota's response? No fixes, no recalls, just vague talk about tire pressure and cargo weight. Translation? Blame the driver. But here's the truth. In a real-world emergency, you don't get second chances. And if your indestructible truck can't stay upright at 60 kilometers per hour, that myth collapses fast. Next, a budget wagon that proves cheap doesn't just mean basic, it can mean dangerous. 7. Dacia Logan MCV. The Dacia Logan MCV screams budget family car. It's roomy, practical, and ridiculously cheap. But in the Moose Test, it failed hard. At just 70 kilometers per hour, the driver made a standard swerve. The Logan's response? Total loss of control. The rear axle kicked out, the body rolled like jelly. Steering input? Useless, no stability control, no correction, just chaos. This wasn't aggressive driving, this was the kind of maneuver you'd make for a deer or cyclist, and the Logan simply couldn't handle it. Why? Because it's built to a price. Basic suspension, minimal ESC tuning, zero margin for error. In the city, it feels fine, but try anything sudden and it turns into a sliding hazard on wheels. Now picture this, you're driving your kids, someone swerves in front of you, you react, and the car does nothing useful. Still think saving a few thousand was worth it? Next, a cute little off-roader that everyone loves, until it snaps sideways when the road gets tricky. Shesty Suzuki Jimny. The Suzuki Jimny looks like a toy G-Wagon. Fun, rugged, and full of charm. Off-road? It's brilliant. But on pavement, it's terrifying. During the Moose Test, the Jimny lost control at just 68 kilometers per hour. The rear snapped out, the suspension wobbled, and the whole car looked ready to flip. Not ideal in an emergency. Why? Because it's built like an old-school off-roader. Short wheelbase, ladder frame, solid axles, high center of gravity. Perfect for mud, terrible for sudden lane changes. Even worse, the stability control system is lazy. It kicks in too late and too softly, failing to stop the chaos. The result? Massive body roll, delayed reaction, zero confidence at speed. Let's be real, the Jimny isn't designed for sharp turns. But this kind of instability, it's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. So unless you live on a mountain trail or drive through snowdrifts daily, you might want to rethink that Instagram-worthy SUV. Up next, a sleek electric crossover that failed the Moose test so badly it left testers genuinely shocked. Number 5. Tesla Model Y. You'd expect one of the world's most advanced EVs to pass a simple safety test, but the Tesla Model Y failed the Moose test, badly. At just 70 kilometers per hour, the car couldn't stay within the cones. The rear lost traction, the front understeered, and the whole vehicle skidded out of control. Not once, multiple times. Why? Despite the low center of gravity from its battery and lightning torque, the Model Y reacted unpredictably. Stability control kicked in too late, and the weight of the dual-motor version made quick recovery almost impossible. This wasn't on ice or gravel, it was dry pavement. Good tires, pro driver. Still a fail, and that's the concern. If it loses control during a test, what happens in real life? A kid running into the road, a car swerving into your lane. Will the Model Y handle it? Spoiler, autopilot won't save you here. You're the one steering, and when you do, the Model Y might not play along. It's sleek, it's fast, it's futuristic. But in emergency handling, it's a high-tech liability. Next, a French crossover that spins out of control, even without the tech. 4. Citroën C4 Cactus. The Citroën C4 Cactus is quirky, light, and unmistakably French. Fun to look at, comfortable to drive, until you suddenly need to swerve. In the Moose test, it completely lost control. At just 68 kilometers per hour, the rear end whipped out, steering overreacted, and stability control failed to save it. Drivers called its behavior erratic and dangerous. And it wasn't a one-off. Multiple runs, same result. No matter the adjustments, the car just couldn't handle abrupt direction changes. This isn't about sporty handling, it's about safety. Because this test simulates what happens when a kid, cyclist, or animal appears out of nowhere. And the Cactus? It panics. Sure, it's great at city speeds, but once pushed outside its comfort zone, it exposes serious flaws. Lightweight build, soft suspension, and poor ESC tuning all collide at the worst moment. So yes, it's stylish, yes, it's fun. But when it comes to emergency reactions, the Cactus folds like paper. Next, a Korean hatchback that's efficient, practical, and terrifying when things go wrong. The Hyundai i20 looks like the perfect budget hatchback, cheap to run, packed with features and ideal for city life. But in the Moose test, it fell apart, fast. At just 68 kilometers per hour, the i20 slid out of control. The rear snapped out, ESC kicked in late, and the car plowed through cones on multiple runs. That's not pushing it. That's a speed you'd hit daily, on suburban streets, highway ramps, or during quick lane changes. The real problem? It felt floaty and unpredictable when drivers needed it most. Even pros behind the wheel couldn't keep it composed during sudden inputs. And here's what makes it worse. Many i20s are bought for young or new drivers, those least prepared to handle instability in an emergency. Hyundai's improved a lot across their lineup, but this model fails where it matters most, safety under pressure. Next up, a sporty BMW that couldn't even match the handling of a family SUV in the same test. Second, BMW M235 Gran Coupé. BMW markets the M235 Gran Coupé as a sharp, agile, driver-focused sedan. It's got the badge, the horsepower, and the aggressive styling to match. But when the Moose test came into play, all that driving pleasure went out the window. At just 68 kilometers per hour, the car completely lost composure. The front end washed out immediately, followed by the rear stepping out violently. Even with the electronic stability control fully active, the M235i plowed through the cones with alarming understeer and slow recovery. A car that's supposed to hug corners like a go-kart couldn't even manage a basic emergency swerve. So what went wrong? Unlike traditional rear-wheel drive BMWs, the M235i is built on a front-wheel drive platform, shared with Minis and other lower-tier models. While that makes packaging and production cheaper, it also shifts the car's dynamics dramatically. The weight distribution is front-heavy, the steering feels vague under load, and the overall response? Delayed. Add to that the stiff M-Sport suspension, which can make the rear end jittery on quick directional changes, and you get a recipe for failure, not finesse. Let's be clear, we're not talking about a budget commuter car. This is a premium-priced sedan that promises performance and fails to deliver it where it matters most, in safety-critical handling. Worse yet, many drivers buy into the M badge assuming they're getting track-ready engineering. But the Moose test proves one thing: badge does not equal ability. And if a BMW with M in its name can't handle a basic obstacle at suburban speeds, what does that say about the rest of the lineup? Next up, a full-size American SUV that should have dominated the test with its tech and size, but instead flopped harder than any other vehicle on this list. Number 1. Ford Explorer. You'd expect a vehicle like the Ford Explorer, massive, high-tech, and loaded with safety systems, to breeze through the Moose test. It's built for family duty, long road trips, and supposedly, confidence on the road. But what actually happened? Total failure. The Explorer didn't just struggle, it barely completed the test, showing extreme understeer and loss of steering input at just 68 kilometers per hour. The front wheels skidded uselessly while the rear end lagged behind like dead weight. Even with all driver aids turned on, the SUV couldn't recover its line in time. Now remember, this is the same SUV Ford promotes as smart, adaptive, and capable. It has lane assist, stability control, terrain management systems, the whole 9 yards. But none of those helped when faced with a sudden real-world obstacle. So, what's behind this embarrassing flop? 2 things: weight and suspension tuning. The Explorer is heavy, really heavy. And instead of firming up the chassis for handling, Ford went with a soft, comfort-focused setup. That's fine for cruising, until you need to swerve. Then it turns into a barge on wheels. And let's not forget, this vehicle is often marketed to families. Parents with kids. People who rely on their car to protect them in an emergency. Yet here it is, losing control at speeds well below the legal highway limit. It's a scary reminder that size doesn't mean safety. If anything, it hides instability behind a false sense of security. The Explorer is proof that gadgetry can't compensate for bad dynamics. And with that, we wrap up the list. But stick around, because in the final segment, we're going to break down what these failures have in common, and how to protect yourself from buying a car that looks safe but fails when it matters most. So, what do all these cars have in common? They come from big brands, they look safe, they pass crash tests, they're packed with tech and driver aids, and yet they failed a simple emergency maneuver, a sudden swerve, a quick reaction. Something you or I might need to do any day, to avoid a child running into the street, a car cutting into your lane, or an animal bolting from the woods. And these cars, they lost control. They slid, skidded, spun, or simply refused to turn. Now let's be clear, the Moose test isn't about racing. It's not about pushing cars beyond their limits. It's about simulating real-world danger, a situation where you have a split second to react, and your life depends on the car doing what it's supposed to. Some of the cars on this list are cheap city cars. Others are luxury vehicles with price tags over $60,000. But when it comes to emergency handling, price doesn't matter. Brand doesn't matter. What matters is how the car behaves when things go wrong. So what can you do? Here's your checklist. Don't assume a car is safe just because it has 5 stars. Look up Moose test results and evasive maneuver videos before buying. Test drive the car and pay attention to how it responds in sudden lane changes. Avoid SUVs that are overly soft or vague in steering. They're more likely to lose control. And most importantly, keep watching this channel, because we don't just repeat brochures or sales pitches. We dig deep into the truth, the real-world flaws, the hidden problems, the things no dealer will ever tell you. If this video made you think twice before your next test drive, good. That means it worked. So now do your part. Like this video if you learned something new. Comment below which of these cars surprised you the most, and subscribe, because the next episode will expose even more automotive myths, failures, and hidden dangers you need to know about before buying your next car. Don't trust the badge, don't trust the ad, trust the test, and we'll see you in the next one.